There is an amazing case that's taking place. On Monday, arguments were made in front of, let's see, what's the name of the judge? Let's see, U.S. Court of Appellate for District of Columbia Circuit. The U.S. Department of Justice is arguing that basically the president can murder whoever it wants if it's on the kill list, and that nobody should be able to pierce into that, meaning not even judicial review. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. The president of the United States and the military could come up with a kill list. And in pursuing the kill list, even if they're Americans, they can go through and whack those people. No trial is necessary. No detainment is necessary. Just blunt, straight death. Are they guilty? Who the hell knows? I remember the argument that Obama administration made that judicial review could be made in the executive branch. Yes, those are supposed to be two separate branches of government. However, the Obama administration basically asserted that we don't need the other one when we go out and pursue death, even if that death happens to be of an American. Utterly astonishing. They did this, by the way, under the Obama administration to Anwar al-Awlaki. They murdered him. Then they turned around and murdered his kid. Then they turned around and murdered the sister. This child right here. This is, and just to read to you what was taking place. Yeah. All right, so right here. So this is Anwar al-Awlaki's daughter. She was also murdered in a raid. 8-year-old Anwar al-Awlaki, the daughter of U.S. Yemen preacher, Al-Qaeda ideologue Anwar al-Awlaki, was among the children killed in a raid according to her grandfather. Her father was killed in a U.S. drone strike in 2011. Now, that was under Obama. She was hit with a bullet in the neck, suffered for 2 hours. Nasser al-Awlaki told Reuters. Why kill children? This is the new U.S. administration. It's a very big crime. Now, why did they say new administration? Well, it's because even though the Obama murdered the dad without a trial, and they killed the kid, his son, without a trial, that the Trump administration, the very first raid that the Trump administration came in, they end up killing 30 people, innocent apparently, including the daughter, 8 years old. No trial is necessary. No judicial review is necessary. Just the president putting a name on a list and asserting that that person is guilty, asserting that that person did something. And yet, how easy is it to assert? How easy is it for the stenographers to just write it down? The president asserts this, the military asserts this, the guy has to be guilty, otherwise why would they assert it? Do you trust that? Do you trust Donald Trump with the power and the capacity to write a name down on a kill list, regardless of who that name is as an American, if they're out there somewhere, regardless of the reach, regardless of how far away they are from the battlefield, and that the president signs off on a death warrant? Again, no judicial review necessary. This is dystopian. And yet, Obama did this. Nobody complained. There were some people who complained, but for all intents and purposes, nobody made an issue out of Obama and that murder list. Well, in this very specific case, the Trump administration, the DOJ, is now arguing something similar. A gentleman nearly hit by multiple drone strikes. Kareem, where's your last name? There we are. Bilal Abdul Kareem, an American citizen who works as a journalist in Syria for the On the Ground Network news channel. Now, Kareem made the point that there have been 5 drone strikes, missile attacks, that have nearly taken his life. And I think he's thinking, well, wait a minute. Is it possible that I'm on the kill list? And is it possible that I ended up on the kill list because my job is to be in Syria and to discuss with various actors and people who are on the ground, some of which, are not necessarily on the greatest side of the United States? Is it possible that they're trying to take my life as an American citizen because of that? No trial, no crimes asserted, nothing indicted, nothing. Just murder, death from the sky, even if it's an American citizen. That is an astonishing position to take. When Obama did that, by the way, I was apoplectic because my first thought was, if it's okay for Obama to do this, is it going to be okay for Trump to do it? Is it okay for another president to get in office? Is it okay for Mitt Romney to sign the death warrants of various Americans that they don't particularly like? Where does this power end? And do you honestly believe that one president is going to use it and the next president is going to abdicate that particular power? No, they're not. They never give up authority in those ways. That authority has to be ceded and ripped from them. And even then, sometimes it's not enough. When they tried to corral the CIA and they tried to ensure that the CIA at the very least had something associated with the president, because after all, if the president knows what the CIA is doing and the CIA is basically an illegal organization in the way that it operates, well, then the president is operating as somehow against the law. So the president needs a buffer between the CIA and the president, with the mandate that the CIA is just doing what's in the best interest of the country. Even that didn't work in corralling the CIA. When Ronald Reagan wanted to go and support the South American, these dictators and these kill squads in South America, to push back against left-wing forces, the Sandinistas, and Congress said no. Congress forbade him to do that. They even passed the Bolin Act saying, don't do it. What did Reagan do? He still sold weapons to the enemy to get the money and ship that money down to the kill squads. I'm trying to make the point that power in this case is ripped away. And even when it's attempted to be ripped away, it doesn't necessarily mean it's given up. The president of the United States has basically asserted the right to murder Americans. And the press and the other institutions that's supposed to care about this seemed to fall silent when it was Obama. This is the first that I've heard of this, to be honest, under Trump, at least from the standpoint of a lawsuit. But this gentleman is making the point that they're trying to kill me. I'm on a kill list. I didn't do anything wrong. They haven't asserted that I've done anything wrong. I haven't been indicted, and yet they're trying to take my life. He went to court. And his point is he wants to know, am I on the list? So right here. Let's see. Right here. In an appellate brief, right here. The government sought to dismiss. Kareem alleges that he was narrowly missed by 5 military strikes and he thinks were carried out by the United States military as a result of his inclusion on the kill list. He suggests that he was put on the list because of the metadata from electronic devices and he doesn't meet the guidelines for inclusion. And he doesn't meet the guidelines for inclusion. The government sought to dismiss the case, making state secrets privilege because Kareem sought to discover whether or not he had been targeted, the process the government used to target him, and whether or not the United States attempted to kill him. Meaning, how did you try to off me? Are you trying to off me? How? Now, the interesting part to this is the government's response is basically, you don't have standing to ask this. But if he doesn't have standing to ask this, and assuming that he is on a kill list for the moment, then basically you've just said that state secrets protects the government from exposing anything having to do with this kill list, that the judicial review doesn't apply. Isn't that profound? In the appellate brief, the government argued that Kareem lacks standing because it makes an unsupported assertion about being targeted in a war zone. Even if he had standing, the government argued the state secrets privilege forecloses litigation of this claim. Isn't that profound? You tried to off me. I think I'm on your kill list. I mean, you tried 5 strikes. It's not an accident. Going to court and ask the court, look, am I on this kill list? How did they put me on this kill list? What is the process to which I was on this kill list? the government basically says, A, you don't have standing to know that. Mind you, they're trying to off him. They're trying to kill him. You don't have standing to know that. And B, even if you did have standing to know that, state's secrets. We could be trying to murder you, yes, but we don't have to tell you that we're trying to murder you, even if you're an American citizen. That is profound. That is profound. Utterly profound. Right here. Judge Patricia Miller characterized the Department of Justice argument as giving the government the ability to, quote, unilaterally decide to kill U.S. citizens according to coverage of the arguments by the Courthouse News Service. Do you appreciate the extraordinary, do you appreciate how extraordinary this proposition is? Now, the problem, and the reason why I look at this with a certain degree of like, it's amazing that this is in court, is because, again, under Obama, who was doing the same thing, this wasn't an issue. Like I said, Obama murdered Anwar al-Awlaki, murdered his kid, and Trump, in the first raid, ends up murdering the daughter. American citizens weren't indicted, weren't charged with a crime, no evidence was presented, and the belief is supposed to be that the President of the United States can come to a decision to murder somebody that's an American citizen without the judge, without a jury, without any of the stuff. Apparently, the Constitution just doesn't apply. It's astonishing. The question becomes, what does the judge do? Does the judge look at this and say, you're right, judicial review does not apply, meaning I can't peer into this case? Is that really what we're going to say? That there's no oversight to the President of the United States murdering American citizens, regardless of how far away they are from the war zone? I guess we're going to find out. I'm curious as to why nobody brought this case up for Obama. I suppose that the only person who would have done so was dead, unless you're talking about the ALCU or something like that. At the end of the day, Obama had his kill list. People understood that that kill list was in existence. The New York Times and the Washington Post reported that the kill list was in existence. And it did not stop the kill list. And fact of the matter is the powers of that kill list was immediately transferred to Donald Trump when he took office, who, using that kill list, is probably trying to off this guy. Isn't that amazing? Yes, whether you're on the kill list or not, it's none of your business. We may be trying to kill you, or we may not be trying to kill you. Either way, it's none of your business. And even if it was your business, we don't have to tell you state secrets. For the moment, think about all the things that the government can use and call state secrets. And you know for yourself, many of those things, once they're uncovered, but many of those things was for incompetence, ridiculousness, stupidity, waste, like corruption. Those are things that have every incentive in the world to be covered up under this motto, state secrets. Well, from the standpoint of murdering various people who are in other countries that we don't particularly like, especially if you're using like metadata. Think about that for the moment. You're looking at metadata and you're seeing information and saying, okay, this guy has something to do with this, so we're going to off this guy. Hell, you may not even like the fact that the guy is working in that country at that capacity and use that as a justification to off the guy. You may even use just the explanation of the speeches, meaning if the individual recites or translates the speeches into English, is that in and of itself enough for the guy to get whacked? Well, we don't know because there's no judicial review. There's no argument, no discussion on whether or not it's okay to murder American citizens when that is held to be true. It is apparently entirely up to the president's military discretion, even if they're Americans. Because the president considers what you're doing by reciting that stuff or renaming that stuff or wording it into English as a crime. Look, we have some serious problems in this country. And the idea that anybody can be whacked in this way without any kind of due process or judicial due process is astonishing. It's dystopian to the max. And this, by the way, went beyond even George Bush. And I'm talking about Obama. Obama just appropriated what George Bush was doing and added a certain degree of intelligence to it and made it more efficient at murder. Whether it was the drones, whether it was the bombs dropping, all of that stuff. Obama killed scores of people, especially with those drones. And the disgusting jokes that they used to make about the drone killings. 90% of those people, in many respects, were civilians. Meaning the majority, the overwhelming majority of the people who were being killed by those drones were innocent civilians. It's fucking astonishing. You must reconcile whether or not it is okay for your government to murder American citizens in this way. And you may say, well, if those guys decide to do X, then they should get it. But how do you know they decided to do X? How do you know? You never had a trial. You never put them on trial. You never actually put out charges to say that they were guilty of this or they were guilty of that. It was only assertions by the government. And do you really want the government to just make a power of assertion and whether or not to off and take your life or somebody that you care about? Is that really a power that you want the government to have? Even Scalia didn't necessarily think that was a wise choice and thought that was beyond the pale. So I'll end this here. I don't want this one to stay long. I will put the link in it so you can read it for yourself. But Glenn Greenwald does a lot of really good writing on this. And he was writing on this long, long time ago, even when Obama was the one that was out there doing the killings. Is it okay for the President of the United States to murder American citizens without being charged with a crime? And when I say charged with a crime, I mean by a court of law. I don't mean just because the president doesn't like this person or that person or asserts that this person or that person is guilty. We don't have this thing where we're dragging somebody by the king. We're supposed to at the very least be under some level of law. And in this very specific case, Obama didn't seem to think so. And surprise, surprise, Trump didn't either. I would wager to you that neither would Joe Biden. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.